Thursday. Volleyball is also on the road this weekend. UAB on Friday, Memphis on Sunday. Golf is wrapping up their competition here in town today, and then this weekend they'll be at the Trinity Forest Invitational, which is hosted by SMU. Where men's tennis is sending a selection of players for the U.S. College Cup Challenge, which is in Torreon, Mexico this weekend. And women's cross country will be at the Chili Pepper Invitational, and that's in Fayetteville, Arkansas. And we announced yesterday, or the conference did, that the UTSA game next week is a 6:30 start in San Antonio. So you have that information. And that's our big things for right now. We'll have Sean Sullivan and Marcus Williams with us in addition to Coach. We'll get started shortly. We good? I feel better.
Recording in progress.
Coach, we're ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. How are we? Good. All right. Well, with that, I'll open up by saying, if you've paid attention to social media today, you've seen, today honors the 75th anniversary of us opening, our stadium here on campus. As we look at the historic meaning of what we have here, and it's really something special when you look at a Super Bowl hosted here and you look at some of the political events that have happened here, along with our great history in our program. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And, I have a photo that was given to me by a good friend of mine who's actually a Davidson alum, who's his wife, Joan Smith, her father was the president of the construction company at the time that finished the stadium. And so the day it was completed, I actually have that photo hanging up in my office. So, it's one of those things that, you don't think much about, and then it's here. So I thought I'd just mention that in my opening remarks. And with that, I'll open up the questions, whether it's about our stadium or it's about last week's game or our opponent coming up.
We'll start with last week's game. Now
Yeah.
that you had a chance to kind of look at the film.
Mm-hmm.
Any big takeaways that you have from Saturday?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think kind of a tale of two halves, right? Navy takes the opening kickoff and uses almost 9 minutes of the clock and establishes their game plan. And it really set the tone for the rest of the half. We never got in a rhythm offensively. Defensively, we did some good things at times, but we couldn't get them off the field on third down. And flipped the switch second half, it was almost a reversal, right? We controlled the clock, we controlled the tempo, and they made one more play than we made in the second half, right? At the end of the day, that becomes a one-score game. We got to get out the gate better. I said it last week offensively, we got to get out the gate better. We do. That did not happen. We talked about improving, on third down defensively, being better there. That didn't happen. And when you're playing one of the best teams in the league, a team that's, going to be favored just about every week, you got to be better there. And especially when you're on the road. And that just didn't happen, unfortunately, for us. But with that said, reflecting on the whole day, I could not be prouder that, you're down 14-0, which almost feels like 28-0 in that game. Right, 14-0 down to Navy feels like 28-0 because of limited possessions. So for the fact that we score, kick a field goal to make it 21-13 with a chance at an onside kick, I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of our team. I'm really proud of the staff, the effort that we were able to collect ourselves, give ourselves a chance at the end of that game. Right, you'd like to have a much better chance. You'd like to be in a better situation, but we weren't. And I think that shows a lot of growth. I think it shows a ton of growth for this program. And, we'll take the good and the bad from that. The things we got to do better, we got to get out the gate better. We do. And we got to be better on third down. And, but we'll take the good, how do we finish? How do we not quit? And how do we kind of make adjustments and respond? And I saw all of those things, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And then as a coach, those two things, starting fast and third down,
Yeah.
How do you address that beyond in practice? It's third down. Right? Like, how do you do that?
Well, Matthew, that's a $1 million question. I think, unfortunately, sometimes the more you talk about things, maybe the more pressure you put on your team that way, and maybe there's some anxiety. But you got to learn to play with that, right? You can't hide from that, when we're not going to. So we'll continue to talk about that. We'll continue to look: are we as a staff doing the right things in those situations, and are the players responding in those situations? And I think probably both sides of the football would probably tell you a little something different, right? Meaning I think offensively getting out the gate, I think sometimes we as a staff are overthinking that, right? Now we got out the gate quick against Charlotte, right? But not last week against Navy. And I looked myself in the mirror, and maybe we overthought that and how we came out the gate and some of the things we wanted to show them they had not seen, right? Instead of just, hey, let's go be who we are. And then, how do you respond as an athlete if the first snap or the second snap doesn't go your way? And I think defensively, Coach K and company would probably tell you that, on third down, we have to stay in our gaps better. We have to either corral the quarterback or get home, one of the two, right? We can't leave them in a situation where we're giving them a lot of time. And so I think for both sides, it'd be a little different.
Their quarterback.
No, sorry.
All good. Their quarterback, Veldkamp, he's put up big numbers. He
Yeah.
seems very aggressive. Can you break down? That seems to be a big test for your secondary.
I think it's a really big test, right? I mean, he was, I believe my notes are right here. He's a reigning Conference USA Player of the Year, right? Coming out of Western Kentucky. So very talented, got great size. He can see the whole field. So the challenge is real, right? For our secondary. So, it'll be a challenge this week. And I think it'll be a challenge of really who can establish their DNA, right? We want to run the football. They want to throw the football around. And I think we got to get out the gate better offensively, get our ground game going. And then we have to, there's a lot of catch and throw. He doesn't hold it long. He's getting it out of his hand long. So to me, we got to force him to draw the field. He's going to have some completions. We got to rally and tackle well, right? We can't give up, 5-6 play drives because they're throwing the football. We got to force their offense to really work at what they want to do. And I think that's one of the keys this week is tackling in space. He's going to get completions. He's going to hit some targets, and we're not going to get home a ton because of it's catch and release. So with that said, we have to tackle well, right? If it's a 5-yard hitch he's throwing, we got to limit it to 5 yards, and that's a challenge. There's no doubt.
Coach, I know you may get asked, what did you learn week to week, right?
Yeah.
It kind of gets old after a while, but I'm still going to ask, what did you learn from week to week and about your players as you get ready? Because every week is a learning process. Right?
Well, I think the takeaway this week from the group was we expected to win at Navy, right? We expected to go toe-to-toe with a preseason favorite, and you love that mentality. Now, I don't know if we handled it really well there in midway through the first half, right? I'm not sure we handled that well. So now you got to learn how to handle that. Like, I want that expectation. We should expect to win those games, right? But if it doesn't go your way early, you got to handle it better. Now, we did regroup at halftime. I thought that was important to see your team do that. So, all of it's a learning opportunity, and the key is you got to learn, right? And what I said to the team after the game, and I said it again on Sunday, right? There's no doubt in my mind that we grow from all these if we're willing to grow and ask ourselves the tough questions. Where was my impact in all of that? Whether it was how we got out the gate, how we responded midway through the first half, or how we responded at halftime. And probably everybody in the room had a different response or an answer to that. And I put myself in that same category. We all should look in the mirror and say, okay, how did I handle that? What could I have done better? And then how are we going to grow from this? And if we'll do that, then we'll continue to grow. right? I think at times that game, it could have gotten away from it because it felt like a much bigger mountain than 14-0. I think we would all agree on that. So, but the life lesson there is we gave ourselves a shot, and that's what we have to continue to do. And no Saturdays are easy. We're in the conference now. We're in the thick of it. The American is as good as it's been, and so every week we've got to put ourselves in a position to win a football game, and that's not always easy. So, but the more we do it, the better we'll be at it. The more comfortable that will feel. Feeling comfortable when you're uncomfortable. And so I think when I think Saturday, I think we were uncomfortable at times, and we struggled with that. But as the game went on, we got more comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's very important.
Do you feel more speed and comfort? Do you feel more comfortable being at home against FAU this weekend?
Oh, I love being at home, right? And I think our players, let's not lose sight of this start for us, right? 5 games, 3 of them on the road, 2 back-to-back road games to start conference play. Yeah, I haven't looked at everybody else's schedule, but anybody else starting back-to-back road games to open up conference play, I have no idea. But that's a challenge for every program, and especially a year one program where you're trying to really get yourself going. So I'm excited to be at home. I'm over the moon. I'm excited to be here in Houston. I know our players are, and we'll be fired up come Saturday afternoon.
What's FAU's defense pose as an issue?
Yeah, they're really athletic. They have good size. They want to lock you down, right? They're going to play man. They don't hide from it. So most people play some type of man coverage against us, right? So we expect to see an aggressive defense. That's what Navy was against us. Charlotte at times. The formulas are similar. People are going to be aggressive. You're going to be with some one-on-one situations in space, and we got to make some plays. And first half we didn't make many of those, right? We had a couple opportunities to make a couple plays in space, and we missed them. We weren't clean. We weren't crisp. And if we do, that game's different last week. And so we got to grow and make some of those plays in space when we'll have some one-on-one opportunities.
And can I ask you about the 2 guys you brought today? You take over a roster. There's a lot to work with. You're choosy with your portal additions. You get really one guy on the O-line and how he's worked out. And then you don't add anybody really in the safety room because of what you have.
Yeah. Well, for us, I tell you, Sean has been just a great addition to our locker room, not just to our offense, right? He brings a level of maturity. Maybe the oldest guy on offense. I don't know. I got all the ages listed somewhere, right? You can ask him how old he is. But with that said, we needed that. We needed, with the graduation of so many older guys last year, bringing someone in that had some experience and then had some playing experience, right? I think that's really important. Sean had a great career at Yale, had a ton of snaps under his belt, and bringing that here to a younger offensive line and a younger room, we thought was really important. And we are picky, right? I don't hesitate to say that when we look at our rooms and we think about who we want to add to our program, we should be incredibly selective, right? And Sean's just an example of that. Yeah. So, Marcus for us, right? He's a guy that's been here. We added some safeties to the room, but man, what a talented young man. Okay. And he's had a great first half of this season for us. I don't know where we'd be without him, right? In all honesty. And when I think about Marcus, I tell him this all the time. Like, I love the way he handles himself. So when you walk through our building, you walk through our locker room, you're on our field, he's a professional, right? You never know how high he is. You never know how low he is. He's doing his job, and he's making everybody around him better. And I saw that last spring. When I arrived, I saw that in his work ethic in our off-season training, and now showing up on the defensive side, right? And when I think about these 2 young men that are here today, right, they are exactly what Rice football is all about, right? They value education. They value the brotherhood that's in a locker room. And they have bought into what we are doing here in our vision. So very proud of both of them. Excited they line up with us each and every Saturday.
I want to double check. Anybody online? You have any questions right now? All right. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.
Sean,
Go
have you
Owls.
come up?
Good afternoon.
Hey, I won't ask you how old you are, but I will ask you, playing your last season of college football, picking a program that's starting over and hitting a reset. What was the appeal of that, and then how have you seen it go so far through a couple weeks?
Yeah, so I'm 22. I think. Yeah. So the center, David Stickle, is my age, so we're two of the older guys on the offense for sure. In terms of playing my last year of football, I wanted to come to a place where I could use my eligibility and feel like I'm making a difference. Contributing on the field, in the locker room, and obviously getting a valuable education. So the ability to come to Rice, get an MBA, and play for a program like this was really valuable in my eyes.
How would you judge the way the offensive line's progressed about the halfway point of the season?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about us is it's a new concept, new thing for everybody. So the ability to grow together as the season progresses has been really important. You watch the film, and the ability for us to be really as good as we want to be is there. So we just need to continue to grow, get better every day, and I think success will follow.
And anything stand out about their defensive line or their defense in general?
Yeah, I mean, everybody in our league is going to be big and athletic. So across the board, you just got to be ready to show up every Saturday. Really, every team here on out is going to be a challenge. So ready for that every week.
Sean, can you take us from first week to now of how you guys are really starting to come together towards the team?
Yeah, as a team, as an offense, like I said, when we start this thing out, week one at Louisiana, you have no idea how this thing's going to go, right? You think you have an idea because you've spent a month in camp really working every day to get better, but you don't have any idea. And we've seen some success early on, and I think that's fueled the fire a little bit in that locker room that we really have a chance to do something special this season. And I think it's just about showing up every day, putting the work in and getting better, and I think the rest will follow.
What should we expect to see this week leading up to the game, but then Saturday, most importantly against Florida Atlantic? And what do you know about that team? I know he just asked you that, but I'm curious as to what you know about that team that can help the team win.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said, just showing up. We've talked about it a lot. It's really about what we do. Obviously, the opponents are going to be good every week, but we focus more about what we're doing in our room, in the offensive line room, on the offense, as a team in general. And I think if we bring our best game every week, we can go toe-to-toe with anybody in this league.
And then always talking about improving from week to week. I'm curious, in a new scheme for everybody, has it been easier to see, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did this in week one versus what we look like in week 5?
Yeah, and there's always room for growth. And like I said, you watch the film, and there's places all over the place. It's like, okay, we could have popped one here. We could have popped one here, right? So I think seeing that for everybody is really important to build the confidence in this thing. And then hopefully we can put this thing together and really put a product on the field that we're really proud of.
Anything else from anybody online? All right. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Questions for Marcus?
All right, Marcus, let's start out. What was how do you feel hearing your coach say those things about you after your journey so far at Rice?
Yeah, I didn't hear what he said.
Some nice things.
Yeah. Okay.
Really great things. But just the fact that he's able to, he said something to the effect of, I don't know where we'd be without you in the safety room and your contributions this year after all you've been through just trying to get on the field.
Yes, sir. I really appreciate it. Me and Coach Abell, as well as me and the other coaching staff, we've had a great relationship since I've gotten here. I believe I trust them a lot and they trust me a lot. So it's no surprise when they're doing their job and I'm congratulating them, or when I'm doing my job and they're congratulating me. So I do appreciate the kind words, and hopefully I can keep it up.
And then I want to ask you about your teammate, Peyton Stevenson. Both of you guys that kind of been here for the long haul, been on and off the field and kind of stuck it out. What's it like getting to play alongside him and just the guy that you know been through the battles with?
Yes, sir. It's a whole lot of fun playing with Peyton. I'm not sure if y'all knew that, but he's my roommate. So we've been living together for the past 4 years. So even when we go home, we've been talking about like when we get the opportunity, what we're going to be able to do with it. And now that we are having the opportunity, I'm just glad to be able to be out there on the field with him.
2 Alabama guys rooming together. Huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
On a big picture for you, what's it feel like getting the reps, stepping in and kind of sliding over? I know you cross-trained at different positions, but just you're performing really well. What's led to that?
Well, I've been here since my freshman year, so I feel like I have a good grasp of the entire defense. I've been able to learn all the safety positions just from being here over time. So I'm just glad that my opportunity is here. Like y'all pointed out, my journey hadn't been the most smooth, but I've stayed the course and done what I need to do. And now my opportunity is here, and I'm just doing my best to make the most of it.
And any big picture things you see on the FAU offense? Coach mentioned, I guess you weren't here, but the accolades of their quarterback can really spin it. What stands out about FAU?
Yeah, I think FAU, I mean, every single time we play FAU, it's a dogfight all 4 quarters. So I expect it to be a fun game. I've watched a little bit of film on them, seen they throw the ball a good bit. So hopefully I'll talk to the D coordinator and to our secondary, and we'll be locked in this game. But like I said, it's always fun when we play FAU. They have a heck of a program, and I'm just looking forward to competing.
Marcus, what's it like coming off of injury? And I know that you were dying to get back on the field, but talk about that. And now you're on the field and playing well.
Yes, sir. It's just been a long road. Put my faith in God. He's helped me along the way. There have been a lot of times where, you know, I probably didn't feel like doing this or doing that just because of my situation, but just keeping the faith and staying the course. And now that I'm out here, I got to give all praise and honor to him. So it's just a blessing, man.
Excited about playing FAU at home?
Yes, sir, I am.
And I asked you about the interception that your teammate Play Wyatt had on Saturday. What was the emotions like in your room and on the sideline when you got a guy who's been through so much to make that play?
Yeah, it was amazing. We're all excited for Play. We've all been here. A lot of us that were here last year have been here and kind of been able to witness his journey and see the things that he's gone through. For him to be able to come in and work every day and be one of the captains, leaders on our team, and to not even be fully healthy yet and still be able to lead the team, and then be able to come out there now that he is healthy and be able to add to the team. We're just thrilled for him, and we expect a whole lot more out of him too.
Anything else from anybody? All right, we will see you all on Saturday. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.